Sorry, since likely off topic, but can you explain the concept that private property is bad, good, or gray area? The difference between private property and personal property, which a lot of fucking idiots can't comprehend, is that there is no fucking Marxian basis for saying that, like, you can't have a fucking car or a house or some shit like that. Okay? A lot of people are idiots, though, and they misunderstand. And unironically, even leftists will unironically advocate for the reactionary point of view that, like, you are not supposed to have a single fucking thing to yourself. Socialism is when no fucking toothbrush. And the less toothbrush you have, the more socialist you are. Okay? Personal property is property that you have for yourself. Private property is property that you purchase so that it can accrue capital. Okay? One is landlording, which is inherently parasitic. The other is like the leftist content. Owning a house and fucking living in it, or owning a car and driving it. Unfortunately, though, because anti-socialist sentiment is the normative position, and because the idea that we're going to look at the fucking follow-up video with his friends that make under 100K. Hold on. We'll look at this in a second. Tangy but unfortunately, because of the also hi chat smile. Because of the way that we like understand how work is supposed to be, which is like heavily propagandized to the degree that it's like as normal as the way you just live your goddamn life. We have a bunch of like really faulty premises. Really fucking faulty premises under and a complete misunderstanding of how like 8 months socialism is supposed to be socialism is supposed to work. Like orthodox Marxists even that consider themselves like socialists will do this. Okay? Sucks, but it's just the way it is, and there's nothing you can do about it. One of the other main things that people always do, and you probably have done this yourself, okay? One of the things that like people do all the time is misunderstanding the concept of work or labor, okay? If you work for wages, then that's it. You're doing labor. Okay? If you're working for wages and you're generating revenue for someone that is making more off of your fucking work, then you're working. It doesn't matter. An argument I make routinely to help people understand this is like people who have become billionaires off of their labor alone. Now, this really breaks people's minds, but the reality is a lot of like multimillionaires in the NBA or in the NFL that benefit from strong labor union protections unironically make a fucking killing exclusively off of their labor alone. Okay? They do. And people will be like, dude, that means that means they have no capacity to be a fucking worker. You're such an idiot. Now, of course, they make a significant more off of capital ownership. So what do? They take their wages and they purchase investment products, or they take their wages and they, buy a bunch of fucking properties that they will then manage. That all of a sudden turns them into bourgeois capital owners. That turns them into capitalists. Okay? Yeah, LeBron owns teams now. I know. Messi is a great example. Isn't it Messi that's a great example of like a labor billionaire? So, another thing that people get fucking mad at is if like they think that work is supposed to be backbreaking, grueling, and unpleasant. And unfortunately, work is a lot of those things. Okay? But it's the same concept that like conservative reactionaries fucking believe. And it's unfortunately the same concept that even some lefties believe. Okay? Where they will say, oh, you're not doing backbreaking and tiring, unfulfilling work, so you're not actually working. But that's not how labor is defined. That is a purely anti-materialist and purely idealized version, an ideological version of how labor is supposed to work. Okay? It's this notion that like only fucking coal miners are the true laborers, and that or only someone who works at Burger King is a true laborer. And it is actually the greatest propaganda that capital owners could have ever created, because it causes division amongst the working class. That's it. It causes division amongst the working class, and it allows for actual like workers to fucking despise one another. This happened in the UK. One of the best examples of this, I believe, was when there was it like the lorry drivers or something? There's like a pretty solid union amongst the like bus drivers union, whatever. I don't know what the fuck they say in the UK. They use like different languages. So a lot of the other workers in the country were genuinely upset. They were frustrated because they were like, well, they already make a lot of money. They would point to how much they're making to say that it's fucked up that they are actually on strike for additional benefits or additional compensation or whatever they were on strike for. So that is a capital owner's wet dream, to have the fucking, the tube drivers, yeah, to have the fucking guy that works at the salad bar yell about the fucking tube drivers when the tube drivers are demonstrating the only fucking most significant power that they have, which is work stoppages. Yes, there was a London Underground tube strike in the fucking UK.
Like explaining the color yellow to a blind
The concept of working class with this propaganda isn't as tangible as it should be. Yeah. When a fucking Hollywood actor, again, strong unions, or a NBA player, again, strong players unions, makes $100 million a year from just their fucking contracts alone, just from their labor alone, you have to recognize that that means that whoever is up top, whoever financed the movie or whoever owns the rights, is making billions of dollars off of their labor, because no one, unless they work for themselves, okay, and even then they're still beholden to other larger entities to survive, because you can't ever truly own the means of production in its entirety, unfortunately. But no one is ever going to pay you more than you're worth under a capitalist system. That's just not going to happen. So when you go to work, when you get out of college and you're fortunate enough to be able to go to work, okay, and you get a job and you are being paid for that job, you are being paid less than what you are bringing in to that job. Okay, your value, the value that you are generating through your labor is significantly higher than what you are being paid. This is just how it works. Because the additional labor value, also known as surplus labor value, is taken from you and considered what is known as profits. A capitalist considers that to be non-exploitative. A socialist or a Marxist considers that to be exploitative. What the business does with your surplus labor value, the amount of value that you have generated for your bosses, is up to them. They can do whatever they want with it. This is the main difference between capitalism and socialism. My first job out of college, I replaced someone who was making $125K. They paid me $35K. The work was exactly the same. Of course. I hope some people understand this concept. Okay? Ultimately, there is no value without labor. There is no value without labor whatsoever.
New sub badge poggies.
If, let's say, you, I don't know, got a factory that you inherited from your parents. Okay? Without hiring workers to work that factory, you are simply just sitting on a factory, an empty factory. Let's say you also inherited a bunch of wood shipments. Okay, there's a bunch of wood now sitting in a fucking factory. That alone is just pure money that is just sitting there. Without someone to work that factory, without someone to be on the assembly line, you will never be able to generate value off of the pre-existing capital. How about autonomous factories? Now, that's a wonderful concept. Autonomous factories already exist, or automation already exists. So what automation actually does is increase productivity. That's why our productivity has increased tremendously over the course of the past 60 years, whereas wages have remained stagnant. So under a capitalist organization of the economy, when productivity increases, the capital owners will use that additional productivity to drive up profits, to continue paying you the same amount that they were paying you. And it does not fucking adjust to less work, to less work hours with the same pay, or you know, less work in general for the same pay. It does not translate back to the workers itself. So whenever people criticize automation, I always say, look, it's not the automation that is the problem. It's the way that we distribute profits that's the problem. It's the way that we engage in commodity production, and then how we analyze and how we see profits and surplus labor value that is a problem. Automation is just a beautiful thing. We are supposed to, through artificial intelligence or through machine learning and through automation, eradicate less meaningful, menial, laborious tasks. Okay? Because ultimately no one wants to clean the toilets. It's just the reality, right? What is this? Yeah, but when the tube strikes happen, it's the common worker commuting that suffers, not the government. It undermines workers' rights. This is used as an example of a union being a bad thing for our country since its damaging impact on the rest of society. Yeah. So you're not supposed to go along with that fucking anti-capitalist rhetoric, or sorry, pro-capitalist anti-worker rhetoric, and you're supposed to explain to people that, like, no, this is how it's supposed to work. It's how it's supposed to be. Also, there is still always going to be a need for labor, which I forgot to mention. There's an automation engineer in the chat who says, I literally designed the robots. What you're talking about, you're 100% correct. They generate so much value via labor, but nearly none of it comes back to the rest of the company. There will always still be need for labor. There is no, like, it'll never get to a point where it's like a self-oiled machine. Even if you have other machines that correct the previous machines on the assembly line, someone still had to build it. Someone still had to work on those machines. Someone still has to manage the machines. Automation without a change in who owns the means of production will literally just mean that the workers starve and die. This is also true. But it's impossible to get to that point because, as everyone knows, most capitalists recognize that the band-aids, like a strong, robust welfare state, are an absolute necessity to continue capitalist exploitation and capitalist commodity production. Because if they don't offer some of those band-aids in the form of welfare, which libertarians, like right libertarians, will call a riot tax, you will actually, unironically, have riots. It sounds like a horse being optimistic about its job when it sees the automobile. Yeah, I mean, horses are now more free than ever before, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's so much more complex than that also. It's like a silly fucking thing. Especially because horses aren't paid for their work. state gives false progress under the guise of reforms while strengthening the state at the same time. Yes, this is strong welfare and strong social democratic reforms are part of the reason why the inherent contradictions have not let the inherent contradictions that are within the capitalist organization of the economy have not led to the inevitable demise of the said capitalist organization of the economy. We see examples of this with we see examples of this all the time. Like whenever the fucking economy goes tits up, the state steps in. The Western capitalist states will step in and correct that problem, oftentimes with our tax dollars. Usually, what the normal Western social democratic capitalist state is supposed to do is at the least correct the problem by offering the people money. In America, we are on the latest stage of fucking late stage capitalism, or just regular capitalism on overdrive, okay? That we end up paying the fucking banks that are responsible for the problem to begin with and let God sort it out.
Love your stream.
Corinna said what? The problem with OnlyFans is the only people being affected is sex workers, and not only are affected, but being directly attacked. You can still post nudity, just not porn, while I won't be affected. Shame on OnlyFans for the direction they're going. Queen. The OnlyFans story is fake. The statement is not even on that link. I'm a creator and I contacted them. They responded that the statement was not made by them. Mate, if we all do jobs we like doing, who does the jobs that no one wants to do? The example is easy, dude. Right now, and this is like turning into a theory stream because a lot of motherfuckers need it, especially like Twitter lefties. But there's two ways to motivate people to do things, okay? There's positive incentives and negative incentives. Under a capitalist organization of the economy, we use negative incentives for remuneration. As in, if you don't fucking clean the toilets, then you will die. You won't be able to put a roof over your head. You won't have shelter. You won't have clothes for your back. You won't have food for your table, and you will fucking die. The positive reinforcement or the positive incentivization would mean that you operate like a family. If you have ownership over your own means of production, if you have at least a say, a more democratic a part of the process, you will want to fucking talk and collaborate with the rest of the people that are working at that same business and understand the necessity to clean the toilets. You clean your own toilets, don't you? You clean your house, right? An example I give oftentimes is what I do. I know that many of you will completely lose sight of what I already just said with respect to how if you are generating wages from your own labor, you are still working, and another person is making more money off of your labor and ultimately paying you a percentage of that. Okay? But most of you will still say that that's not technically working. Fuck you, because you enjoy yourself. But regardless, if we were to assume that Twitch streamers are working, okay? If we were to assume that, why do I work the hours that I do? Well, I have a contract that also has minimum hours in it, but why do I work a lot more than that contract? Because I have a minimum amount of ads that I need to fucking run and a minimum amount of like ad density that I need to get. And I negotiated that because I have more power than the average worker. Obviously, that's part of the reason why I was able to negotiate down the amount of ads that I run on this stream. You know, the 1 minute ad break that you see at the top of the hour. So The reason why I work as much as I do, if you are to consider Twitch streaming work, okay, is because I enjoy it. I'm not forced by a manager
Comrade at Hassan Abbey.
to, you know, sit here for 8 fucking hours and have like parasocial chatters be like, why are you not chewing your nails enough? Or why are you chewing your nails too hard? I enjoy it. I love what I do. And I also see like there's a lot of stuff that I need to do on the back end for this work, right? Reading, writing, staying on top of things, promotional things that I need to do from now every now and then. Okay? But I do it, even if I don't want to do it, I do it because I know I have to do it, and I have a lot less alienation from my labor than the average worker does. So even if there's something that I don't want to do, I still do it for myself. You get it? Because I'm positively incentivized. A business owner, a successful business owner will, if it's a small business, for example, a successful business owner will want to do, like, will want to fucking make sure that there's like clean toilets. That's why business owners themselves will oftentimes, yeah, I know, I don't know, dude. Seems like a long way to justify pre-watching videos, you scum. Yeah, that's true. Like, small business owners, when there isn't a lot of when there is a labor shortage in the market as a consequence of people being like, I don't want to fucking work, like this job sucks, okay? When there is a tight labor market, you see the harrowing stories of business owners having to do the dishes themselves because they can't find a dishwasher because none of them actually want to work for the low pay that they're putting out. Right? Why are they doing that? Because they recognize that the dishes still need to be kept clean. And they're willing to do that. They're willing to do that extra work on their own, even if they fucking hate it, because it is a thing that needs to be done for the work to continue. And because they have ownership over their own work, they will literally do everything they can to continue that work, to continue that that business. That doesn't answer the question, though. So why would anyone decide to clean toilets than do anything else they like? No one enjoys cleaning toilets. That doesn't answer the question, though. Wait, no, it literally does. We understand that there are jobs that are necessities in every workplace. And instead of fucking forcing people to do those jobs because they have no other options or because they are made to feel replaceable, because they're made to, because they're saddled with debt.
I'm gonna be just like you.
That's
when
one
I
way
grow
of,
up.
of forcing people to do that. And then the other way of forcing people to do that is because they recognize that it's a necessary part of the work and they have an ownership stake. Okay? Do you fucking get paid to wipe your ass? Are you one of those born to shit, forced to wipe Andes, dude? Are you a crusty ass anarchist? And I mean like literally crusty ass because all the shit has crusted in your asshole from not wiping it? No, you wipe your ass because you want to be clean. It's the same principle. Except some of you guys are actually fucking born to shit, forced to wipe Andes, so I don't know how to deal with you, so.
Hey Hussein, I'm Armenian American but also I'm Turkish. I just wanted to ask for your opinion on how Artsakh is majority Armenian, always has been, and that Azerbaijan is burning our land. Also, do you support Fenerbahce, Galatasaray or Besiktas? Much love.
I do not support any
13
fucking
months, Pogu.
football team, but my family are Fenerbahce fans. Well, I guess technically I'm a Fenerbahce fan, but I'm not.
No need to read live. I am
That
a
makes sense
MD
for
and
single toilets, but what
specialize
about
in
larger
mobility
sanitation concerns like sewage
slash
treatment or
athletic
stadium
performance.
bathrooms?
Published simple DIY.
What do you mean, dude?
Agency,
Like,
low back protocol.
it's the same.
Help many. No prompt.
It's
Show
the same
you
as
what's
anything.
Going on and quick fix off
They get fucking paid more. They feel like it's a necessity to do that. They're gonna do it gladly. Anyway. Okay, we're done with that.
Do you plan to watch and break down Nelk's podcast with Donner and Robert O'Neill on Afghan?
Group projects don't work. Look, I'm not a fucking... I think cooperative ownership can work, and there are successful examples of this. But that doesn't mean that there can never be a hierarchical structure. You understand that, right? Like, it doesn't always have to be... Fucking thing. Like, there can still be a hierarchy that is more democratic in nature. Rather than the current incredibly unequal way that the workplace structure is designed. Changing it from a fascist autocracy, which capitalist workplaces are, to a more democratic process.
Why you no stand at your desk anymore?
Can you explain how managerial type positions fit into this? Like, I can imagine how worker surplus value would be determined when you add layers of complexity to the business who can effectively manage the logistics means of production. My mind only goes towards CEO types who end up overpaid. How do these types of positions fit into a cooperative business model? To be honest, I don't have a good answer for that. I really don't. Maybe someone else has a better answer than me, but like, that's part of the reason why I also talk about how like like how the workplace has evolved since the factory line in the aftermath of the Industrial Revolution. And that's why unionization has like a layer of complexity. Does that make sense? My ultimate goal is, and I've said this before, I am a profoundly fortunate individual. I'm incredibly lucky. I talk about how lucky I am regularly, okay? I have a job that I like. I enjoy doing it. I set my own hours. I have a community that I love that I've been able to fucking foster for a very long time, okay? All of this shit's awesome. I have complete freedom at this moment from financial hardships. And I know what it's like when you don't have that. Okay, I've been on that side as well. It's a massive burden that that basically lives over your entire life, that rules over your entire life. That's why they say money isn't everything, but when you're poor, it is. You know, when you don't have it, it is. Because it really is. Money is just freedom, ultimately. Freedom to be able to pursue things that you enjoy doing. So, my goal is to be able to offer, at the short term, a base level of material equality to all people, which is literally equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. Okay? Like true equality of opportunity, where the state provides basic necessities unconditionally to those who need it. You can still have like some form of markets on top of it, especially in the short term, hopefully with no need for markets in the long term. But in the short term, having the state provide shelter, provide food if you need it, provide healthcare for free, provide a better educated labor class the tools to better themselves in the form of education. Okay? If you do that, you unlock the potential, even from a capitalist point of view, you unlock the potential of all human beings. Who knows where the fuck we would go with technological achievements if people that are currently being left behind exclusively because of their shit spawn point, who knows where we would go with the potential technological achievements that they would bring about. Okay? There it is.
Hi chat.
How do people hear people like Hasoni talking automatically think they're bad for the future of the country?
What up, homie?
I think there is like, I think people are very upset with the system that they exist under, even if they recognize it or not. So the immediate reaction to someone like myself, who's very loud, okay, but who's also very fortunate, is like, well, fuck that guy. He is exploiting everyone around him by, you know, lying to them or some shit. Like, how dare he criticize the systems that he himself is successful under when I'm not? And that doesn't cause a lot of people to like unironically examine meritocracy or the systems that they live under and instead lash out in anger. Okay? And it's very stupid. But it's also, like I said, the wet dream of a capitalist.